Hi guys, this is Argy, and today we're going to talk about vulnerability. I'll start with a few words about myself. I'm the Business Development Director and Chief Information Security Officer for a major Greek integrator and managed service provider, and I'm the membership chair of the Hellenic chapter of IC Square. I'm also a published poet and a retired hand-to-hand combat instructor. Now, the agenda, which I'll try to follow, is going to include the significance of vulnerability management, a few words about human firewall, which is excessively important, and a small episode of work-life balance story, or better, life-work balance, as it ought to be. Now, starting from the vulnerability, in a more generic way, vulnerability is the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. You should stick to the emotional part. When we're talking about a system, it's any flaw or weakness in the system's core, procedure, control, design, or implementation that can be exploited. So the security posture, the security policy of its system can be violated. When we're talking about systems, of course, I'm referring to any server, workstation, network device, IP camera, IP telephony thing, or anything that has an IP and can be reached by a potential intruder. Now, I'll start off something pretty common. I'm talking to a besides crowd in any case, the IKSC, the intrusion kill chain. You know, I interact with a lot of customers, and when I'm talking to D or C level executives, I give them a glimpse of it, stating that you see that vulnerability, the word vulnerability, and it's like vulnerable here, it's referred in the step 4, the exploitation part. But if we do something about it, the absolute truth is that we're going to impact the very step 1, the reconnaissance. So you see here, it says research, identify and select of targets. What I'm stressing is that having a controlled vulnerability posturing, keeping your vulnerabilities, in simple words, as low as possible in significance and in numbers, will prevent like an attacker, which is a random or a semi-random attack, to harm you. So the aggressor will find a weaker potential victim. It's the same as bullying. But even if something is really targeted, again, we're gonna make the life and the effort of the aggressor very, very difficult by having a nice and neat public footprint. So, moving from the IKSC, we see that this effort to have everything in control is actually a life cycle. I mean, that's no news that everything in ICT and cybersecurity is not a straight line from A to Z. It's not a one-time thing, but it's a recurring part. So we really need, I mean, in simple words, here we're seeing 6 no's, but in simple words, we need to assess, report, and do something to remediate, to fix, either permanently or not, the vulnerabilities that we have. We say remediate, but I mean compensate as well. So maybe there is a 0 day that is out in the wild for a few hours. There is no patch from the vendors yet, but still maybe we can harden our IPS policy or put an extra access list in our border firewall, or maybe apologies for that, put a web application firewall as well. Anything that one can do to mitigate an issue. And again, this is a process-based action. Like we need to verify, discover, and again run the drill from start. So the main thing is that we need to do it consistently. Key here is to fix the important part consistently. When talking about consistency, of course, there is a maturity model. I mean, many of you should already know the CMM. So this is a CMM approach to the vulnerability management. I won't spend much of the time here, so we really need to be proactive. The photograph is not optimal, but the key here is proactive. So we'll start from step 3 as a baseline. We need to have something really defined, and then it needs to get as optimized as possible. Now, step 4, the optimization is again another life cycle approach. So there are levels of optimization and so on. As you see, as the aggressor, they become more and more agile and more dynamic. The same needs to happen to your vulnerability management strategy. And of course, code cannot be excluded. I mean, I have a few customers running software development companies, and they say, Argy, I mean, we have outsourced everything to our cloud providers, to Azure or AWS or Google, or maybe we have a few of them around, like the intercloud approach. So the provider takes care of everything because we're utilizing and buying platform as a service. But in a vast majority, unfortunately, they're not incorporating security controls in their SDLC, so they end up identifying a few issues, even if not following the waterfall model, and they are agile. They state that they're agile. They run some tests at the end, so they end up accepting an enormous residual risk, or spending a lot of money and effort and money again to fix some things before they go live. So for me, OWASP is out there for 15 or more years. There is the ASVS version 4 now. It's the application security verification standard. We should all target for level 2 as a baseline. And guys, if your application uses critical data like financial data or personal information or sensitive information, you should really target for level 3, even if it's not easy to fulfill the 286 controls. At the moment, I've seen out there a lot of very nice apps. I mean, people spend enormous money in UX and UI and for marketing purposes. Oh my god, I mean, to convert customers, and then they get hacked by somebody because the application is not is poorly written security wise, and that's the same. Now, this is the human firewall. It's a big commodity. It's a big buzzword out there. It's something that as a term started a couple of years ago, but it's true. It's fundamental. You can spend crazy money on next generation and next generation things, and then you have your user plugging in a USB device or click on a link, and that's it. You're pretty much fucked. Apologies for the language, but it is highly essential to train your users. And as I stress, and I don't stress enough sometimes, and your security team, I mean, okay, they're IT guys or InfoSec guys, and they know how to hopefully they know how to check if an email is a fraud or not, or they don't use their personal USB stick at the office. But you need to have an incident response plan. I mean, even if you're not abiding a framework like ISO 27001, NIST, BIMCO, or IMO for shipping, you need to have some processes around, and you need to check them along with the other stakeholders a few times per year. I mean, when something happens, because inevitably something will happen, that's good that it won't be something serious. They need to reach out to the management, to marketing, to legal, and engage all the stakeholders. So everyone involved needs to be trained. Now, this is a photograph. We're going to be staying in the human asset part. This is a photograph that I chose the last minute to include. It's nice because it starts from the comfort zone. as something that we were in the past, and that's true. And it refers to the stretch zone. I usually wake up quite early for multiple reasons, and I used to listen to all this motivational speaking and how to become the best entrepreneur, the best executive, and they often refer to the stretch zone. You need to fight and fight and fight and become better, and that's true. But there are limits to it, and nobody really refers to the panic zone, which is what comes if you haven't set your boundaries. So the ultimate truth is that human assets, and I'm referring to actual people, they can also be vulnerable in aspect to breaches, which means that no matter how they look outside, I mean, they can be very functional, they can laugh, they can work with you, they can eat okay, they can go out with for a beer with you, or and you think that they have a perfect life. They can still be vulnerable, and they can feel bad. And when I'm saying they feel bad, I'm talking about anxiety. This is Mr. or Miss Anxiety. They can be stressed. They can feel like shite, and that's a very important thing, because then your next generation firewall looks something like this. This is your EDR, and this is your web application firewall, all your DLP. So, but these are just tools, just instruments. They are compensative measures, but they don't really remediate the problem. So there are things that we should do. This is a picture of myself a few years ago. Unfortunately, this is something that I'm sure that it looks familiar to a lot of you when you look yourself in the mirror every morning. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to be an executive to feel like that or to be like that. But hey, there are ways to turn this around. So we're gonna talk about your remediation plan here. We need to learn to say no, and believe me, it doesn't have to do with poor management, time management skills. There are people, yeah. There are things and people that we need to say no to. So that's important. Again, establish boundaries. It might, it might look the same, but it's not. There are some lines that we should never cross regarding our well-being, or the life-work balance, as I said in the start. So yeah, maybe don't work 16 hours every day for many years just to buy a brand new car or something. It doesn't worth it. We should ask for help, and I mean professional help. Yeah, you can talk to your parents or to your better half or to a friend of yours, and that's fine. But professionals are out there. It's the same reason people hire us to do a professional penetration test or a vulnerability assessment or something, and they don't reach out to for a freebie out there. And very important, try to build a positive relationship with your boss, as long as it can happen. If not, maybe you can change your boss. Now is a good time to refer to the footer of the presentation. It says the first time is a mistake, second time, and obviously every other time on top of it is a choice. So reaching to the end, thank you everyone. Stay safe, security wise, and mentally sane. And I'll talk to you when I see you around. Thanks, Emil.